Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology and Beyond. Today, with your host Tatiana, also broadcasting for ANN Archetypal News Network. Today, I will be talking about the first half of November, and which will kick off with a new moon in Scorpio. So, we will be talking about that and many more things. I have tons and tons and tons of notes. So, I think just sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. And before we begin, please feel free to subscribe, tap the bell, like the video, even though you have not seen it, but stay to the end of the video. And this month, for Black Friday, I have all my readings at 50% off. So don't forget to go and check in the description box below my offerings. 50% off the whole month of November for all readings. Yay! Okay, let's do it. Let's dive in. Dun dun dun. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? All right. Why can't I? Okay, here it is. That's it. Okay. So let's see what is a little bit of the things going on. So we kick off this month with the new moon in Scorpio here at 9 degrees and 35 minutes of Scorpio. So if you have any planets or angles or your rising around the ninth degree of Scorpio, Taurus, um, Leo or Aquarius, this full moon is going to be supercharged for you. Now, good news is that this full moon gives us the full moon, new moon, blah, blah, blah. This new moon gives us a huge opportunity to reset some of the themes or a new cycle with respect of all the themes that I will be talking about. And in resetting a new cycle, there's an opportunity for tremendous growth. And when I say tremendous, this is like unprecedented growth. The reason being because this new moon is sponsored by Pluto and Mars. And Pluto and Mars are both in a very, very tight opposition. And this is where it goes. Either it's gonna be a strife, or we just or we're ready to give up something forever. Give it up forever. And the reason I'm saying this is because and okay, yeah, let's talk about that. But give up forever. Let's talk about Pluto for a little bit. When we talk about Pluto, we talk about the energy of death and rebirth, which is the same thing. Nothing really ever dies. It's always an ending, is always a beginning. It's always something like when the forest burns down, we might grieve the loss of the forest, but in reality, it's to give way to the new growth. So when we see that Pluto's function is really to help us release forever and ever, let go of things that have expired completely, this is when we can allow room for growth. Now, the difficulty, and this is why people experience these Pluto transits very harshly, because uh because letting go and releasing, it's a very nice concept. Oh, it's so easy to let go, but it's not. We tend to hold on very tight to beliefs, to ideas, to people, to that job, to that house, to that person, to that relationship. And the grip is so tight. I'm gripping onto this, but if I don't release it, how my hand's gonna be open to receive the new? And obviously, this is not new. This energy is not new energy. We have been dealing with this energy for a while, the release of our mechanisms of control, manipulation, and authority. All of that is what's coming up to the surface. I sound like a broken record, but this broken record is going to sound this again and again until this lands, especially because this is the oh, I thought because this is on the 29th degree. Mars is at the 29th degree and of Cancer, and Pluto is at the 29th degree of Capricorn. So this is suggesting a real strive for power and control with respect to what gives us security and safety. So obviously, when we don't feel safe in ourselves and in our connections and our environment, the instant let's say go to is the control, I need to control everything. Now, this energy can point to sovereignty, as in uh, people trying to protect. It's also about protection. Mars in Cancer, protect the loved ones, protect the motherland, protect. So this protection creates these boundaries, these divisions, and this anger and these conflicts. And this is what's coming up again and again and again. I am not someone to see these things and play out in the world necessarily too much, because I do not connect much to media or news. So I don't relate too much to what's happening. I can only relate it to what's happening inside of me and my immediate environment. And therefore, when I give you these energy weather, astral weather, is for you to connect to how it plays out in your life, in your immediate environment, and in your own self, in your being. And again, these transits don't always speak to everyone, especially if you're new to astrology. You may say, well, this is not happening to me. Well, of course, because depending on where in your chart these things are being activated, you will feel it more or less. Now, let's look at uh who else will be deeply, deeply impacted. People that have anything around the 29th degree of Cancer or first degrees of Leo. So the last degrees of the cardinal signs, which is Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Aries, and Libra. So if you have anything at the end degrees of Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, or Libra, or the beginning degrees of the fixed signs, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, these energies are going to be really, really asking of you to give it a final, final, final look at where are we are being controlling in our life. We're not letting go of something, and something has completely and fully expired. And remember, when you open your hands, the new things will come in. Okay, so the beautiful thing about this new moon is that it's highly, highly, highly supportive by other transits. I just want to show you this amazing support we're having now. This is Mercury is in a trine with Mars, in a trine with Neptune. So this is a grand water trine. And not only that, this is also forming a sextile to Pluto. So Mercury is forming a sextile to Pluto and a sextile to Neptune, forming a kite formation, which is an extremely fluid aspect in astrology. So if you see at the same time these urges and compulsions to see for the last time the shadow parts of ourselves, then we also have the immense capacity to integrate, to go within, to feel the feels and feel the emotions, because this is a very emotional time that can come with high and big emotions. And not only that, we all also have uh, a great capacity for healing also deep wounds regarding the feminine. We have Venus in a trine to Chiron, and Chiron a sextile to Jupiter. You see, this is just like beautiful, beautiful aspects that are supporting deep, deep healing. Now we also have this new moon trining Saturn. So you see the amount of energy that flows for us to move past this like final step of Pluto finally moving out of Capricorn for the next 240 years. Um, that's it. That's it. This is the last push, and we are supported. So let's talk about what all that I just pointed out means, because you might not necessarily be technically inclined. So I will just share with you a few things of what this all could mean for you. All right. So first things first, we have the big grand trine um can highlight like real emotional depth and deep-seated emotions, the capacity for you to access your intuitive gifts, for accessing greater creativity, and also it's the capacity to find your inner guidance and your inner compass. Meaning, whenever you're trying to find truth, truth is not found outside of yourself, and it's not found out in the media. It's not found in, you don't find truth in what everybody says. You find truth. I find truth. We find truth when we close our eyes and we sense the vibration of something. If an information does not ring true, then it's okay. It's somebody else's truth. That doesn't mean it's not absolutely true. It just means you are not connected to that reality. And because we have discussed extensively in this channel that we are creators of our reality through our thought processes. And the beautiful thing of having this alignment of Mercury to Neptune and Mars is that Mercury, the mind, is aligned with the higher mind. Mercury, the mind, the lower mind, is aligned with the all that is, which is Neptune, the ocean of consciousness, and Neptune is aligned with Mars as well, with his is the action, is the will. So you see, at this time, if we're acting from a higher guidance, from a place of more truth and intuition, your actions cannot be ever wrong. And side note, actions are not ever really wrong. Nothing you do is ever wrong. No one's judging you in this world. It's more about knowing that if you are following the inner guidance, even if it feels completely strange why you're doing what you're doing, this is the time where you can totally and completely move beyond those ideas that come from patterns, the patriarchy, the media, or following leaders. You see, this is where we follow our inner authority as well. Also, because we have the capacity at this time to take responsibility also for our thoughts, our words, and our actions. This is also possible because did I say, let me see, I just got to double check something because sometimes I don't have everything in front of me, but yeah, because this is why I'm saying this, because Saturn trining the new moon is giving you a new sense of who you are, a new sense of your own authority and the commitment to your own self, to your own path, and also helping you set boundaries that are healthy. I I am an individual within a collective. However, my individuality still exists within this collective. And this is why Saturn has been giving us through its passage through Pisces the capacity to discern amongst the ocean of all that is where I stand. It's about the practice, it's about the practice of being by myself, finding my own inner authority. Because if I find my own inner authority, chances are I will do much better out in the world because I will not be trying to push my authority on others and I will not be taking others' authority over my own essence. And this is where we can all start releasing the judgments and the control, essentially. So you see, when we find who we are, know thyself, know thyself. If you know thyself, nothing can get to you. Nothing can get to us when we know who we truly are inside. We are eternally free. eternally unlimited within the framework of a world or a dimension that also requires uh, to put some effort in the creation, in the creative part of it. Things don't just appear necessarily in this dimension, but the ideas come. And this is why this grand trine brings us the ideas that come from our soul. And then we have the courage, Mars, the courage to go for that. Also, at this time, we might see the lower frequencies might be about defending our territories, right? Out of love, and that is also correct. We have, if you feel attacked by something, well, you defend it. If it's like the mama bear, right? If somebody's attacking the cub, mama bear will attack too, right? So it's the capacity to also see that we are connected to let's say families, our tribes, and we want to foster that sense of safety and security with people that are of similar resonance. Now, it is important to note that in this case, having similar resonance does not necessarily mean that we are rejecting or pushing away other resonance. It means we're just not engaging. So at this time, it's better instead to fight against something or try to control it or dominate it if it's not in resonance with who you are and your own truth. Do not engage. Release it. Don't keep trying to push through or control or try to make it like you, because chances are some things are never going to be like you. It's the cactus and the lily pad. If they're not meant to be in the same space, that is fine. However, cactus and lily pad will still exist in the ocean of all that is. So you see my point? So this is really important. Now, the transformation that can happen here is that we have the capacity to go really deep with Mercury in Scorpio, the depth that we can achieve by probing into where these deep triggers and emotions may come from, what has the confrontation aspects that we might find at this moment. So this is the image I have created for the Scorpio energy, which again is very present at this moment, is the time of death and rebirth, into the light, into a new light, by confronting the deepest seated fears that lurk under the surface. And the surface is also the emotional surface. So at this time, expect big emotions or big literal floods, big floods. But when the flood comes, the flood washes away as well. So let's just have that as why also crying a lot. Crying, let the flood of your inner feelings, of the inner hurts, of the grief flow, because that's what releases and makes way for the new. When we hold on and we crystallize the emotions, we don't allow things to move. And everything always moves. Everything is always in flux and change. And these times are times of immense change. Immense change. If you are a person that is not used to change, this might rock you quite a bit, especially fixed signs. I'm telling you, the fixed signs are fixed. They are just stuck in their ways, like Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus, in different ways, but just kind of stuck, to this is it. It's fixed, it's all or nothing. And these times we gotta embrace the not knowing, that I do not know, I cannot control it, and it's okay, and I can trust, because after Scorpio comes also Sagittarius, and the energy of the adventure, of the is the hero's journey. Once we have gone through one deeper, darker part, comes the next adventure. It's a never-ending thing, by the way. So in these times may feel intense but transformative. The energies force you to confront uncomfortable emotional truths and power imbalances in your life. Though the energy can be volatile, it's an invitation to reclaim your power by letting go of old emotional habits or control dynamics. And this is where it can get nasty, right? Because this is where anger, repressed anger, can come to the surface. And this is where the battles can occur because we're still trying to control others. Now, how are we being kind to ourselves? This is really important too. How are we also achieving or accessing kindness and compassion? You see, and this is the magic of this time, is that there is an open access to kindness and compassion, first and foremost towards ourselves, and secondly, towards others. This is where we can see the strives and the difficulties. And if you're the one still hanging on, open the hand. If you can stay centered and deliberate in your actions, you can emerge stronger with deeper emotional clarity and empowerment. So ultimately, when we lose something, loss is never a loss. Loss is usually a gain of something different. So this is the time to let go of something. Your life might be having a deep transformation at this moment. And again, it depends. Each person's unique. So this is where if you're not so sure of how this is impacting you and your life and what area of life, well, you can look at what house placement these the Mars, like basically Cancer and Capricorn are in your chart, and the next house over, um, just to see what areas in life are being more impacted uh, for you. And if you have any aspects at this time to Mars and Pluto. However, um, you know, you don't need to get all wrapped up about it. You can just see it even all around. You can see if some friends, family, and people you know are going through this. You know also that you can be compassionate and supportive of them. If you're not the one being so impacted by this transit, but you see someone that is in deep pain, in deep difficulty, or going through a difficult moment or transition, you can be the one holding space and sending love and prayers to those people. There are so many things happening in the world. Again, I do not look too much at the news, but I know there's floods everywhere. We're at the, there's wars going on. There's going to be elections happening in the US exactly, during these transits. So this is time that can get very volatile. People can go really against each other. This is what will spark the darkest of the darkest and the angriest of the angriest. And it's like, and the more need for domination and more need for control and push. And hopefully it doesn't have to get nasty. It doesn't have to be horrible. It can be uh it can be transformative. That is the whole point. Um, so this is also an important transit that will, it's a good powerful blend of emotional intelligence, intuition, and strategic communication. And the way the strategic communication comes from Mercury. When you're able to articulate what is going on in your being and accesses that deep sense of vulnerability and communicate it with others with clarity and intent, this is when things just release. It's no longer about putting barriers, boundaries in, and resentments about the past, because this is also something that tends to come back and come back. It's like, when someone's like married for like ever, and they keep bringing up that one thing the husband or the wife did like 10 years ago, and you're just like still holding on to that, like, remember when you did that, remember when and it's like, dude, like, let it go. Let it go. It's no longer in your present. So this is also why we want to release at this moment things that are really, it's just like the broken record. Like, let it go. That's it. If this thing's still coming up for you, we'll look at it and flush it forever. That's it. Um, mm, okay, so what else? So what could happen? Things that we might see during this transit and during this new moon. We might see power struggles and emotional outbursts. So watch out if you're the person that has the the emotional outbursts without having the capacity to have the observation or self-awareness of where these emotions are coming from. I would recommend do not burst out to harm or hurt people. Maybe have that internal feelings and things that come up and then journal them. It's better to journal and get them out on paper so you can reflect and then release the energy than to just like shove it at someone. Repressed anger maybe also surfacing. And what is repressed anger? Remember, it's like when you have that little thing that triggers something that's huge from, again, 10 years ago, this is what can happen. So same thing, if that resurfaces, don't make it about the other person, people, situations, or things. Look at where it originated for you so you can better deal with what these energies are wanting to show you so you can transform. You might see manipulation and control battles. This is where you can see, and there's the sneaky manipulation as well, that can happen, or it can be like upfront, but this is where especially with Scorpio energy is so much obviously about bringing up the darker parts and the shadow, but also about the hidden things and like the backstabbings, etc. So at this time, make sure you are not the one doing that. you know and if you have people in your surroundings that you feel are lying to you, trying to manipulate you to do something, just very honestly and openly and vulnerably ask them what's going on. I want to understand, because chances are the other person that's trying to manipulate and control has their own hurts. They have pain as well. We all have pain, and that's why we end up in power struggles. So this is a time to open up to that vulnerability, and we can do it very successfully. That's what I'm saying. But you gotta lean in. You cannot just go out the other way. We gotta lean in. And then finally, this is the time for emotional transformation and growth. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful new moon. Um, so how could we channel these energies productively? Well, so instead of engaging in unnecessary fights, use this energy to tackle something difficult. For example, a project that you've been wanting to um, complete, or something that is a challenge and that you need energy for. So instead of wasting the energy in fighting, go into something that excites you. It could be something creative. Again, with the grand water trine, we could do many creative things. So channel the energy into something creative where that energy can go. Um, Set healthy boundaries. Um, and a healthy boundary is literally if you're being absorbed or consumed by drama, this is a time where you can say, no, thank you. I am not engaging with this. Thank you. And you might feel and see and sense around you that there's going to be a lot of people wanting to create chaos and drama. So beware of that. Just notice it, see it. As soon as you see it, you can very lovingly, you don't have to be mean, just use always your kindness. You can say, I do not wish to engage with this, and I appreciate you. We can maybe talk later when you have calmed down. Poof. And that's it. Um, Avoid impulsive actions. Uh, the impulsive actions are also when we do not have the capacity to see and understand where our triggers are coming from. So that's when we just like do something and just burn bridges and blow up things, the blow ups, right? So instead of the blow up, do the journaling and observe why is this still coming on. And there's a beautiful exercise you can do if there's patterns that are kind of recurrent in your life, that is the same thing, is the same trigger, the same trigger, the same trigger. then you can see, oh, this is what this transit is trying to show me. So don't make it about the situation, the people, the boss, the partner, the spouse, the world, because, we always try to find something to blame for what's happening to us, right? So instead of doing that, go back and look, what is this transit showing me about myself that I need 100% to release and let go and take responsibility for? Because with this new moon in trying to Saturn, there is a big portion of self-responsibility that is coming to the front, and it's supportive. This is beautiful. We are going to be able to see this is where I am, where I become more of me and who I am. And focus on inner work. I just kind of said that, but I repeated journaling, therapy. You can go and do any kinds of processing at this time. And I know many people kind of look down on therapy, as like, oh, that's for crazy people. I'm not crazy. I have life figured out. Guess what? Even the most successful people, we all have something to work on. A lot of the time we have just like swept under the rug the stuff and I'm all good. But in reality, there's sometimes a lot of pain that it's beneath the surface. And this is a time to start releasing things. So I would say, therapy is good. And, and everybody needs it. Everybody. And there's always someone that can hold space for you. And if you don't have the means to approach professional therapists, at least find friends or people or outlets or self-help books or something that can help you move through these times. And again, I don't know how these times are going to play out, but if you are doing this work, chances are that the collective doesn't have to see uh, a very deep crisis, because the person, you and me here sitting here watching this video, chances are you are that person doing that work. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking that responsibility of your own being, your own light, your own truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you from the collective. Okay. All right. So now the next thing that happened after this new moon. So this is like, obviously the new moon has a big span until uh, the next full moon blossoming and in Scorpio. So it's going to be a long time developing these new themes. But now we have a total change of energy as this happens. There is Mercury entering Sagittarius and Mars entering Leo. So now we're moving a little bit away from the waters and the intensity of the waters towards more of the fire elements, where there could be a renewed sense of purpose, a renewed sense of adventure, and a renewed sense of who I am. This is like a positive thing coming out from that uh purge, let's say. So things that will be important during these this week, let's say, starting on the weekend, on Sunday, and all throughout the week, we will be having let's see. Okay, so we have Venus here that will be opposing Jupiter. And that starts also slightly during that new moon. So it's an energy that will be kind of continue. So Venus opposing Jupiter. And we have Sun trining Saturn that is going to, like we talked about it already, but we can delve a little bit deeper into that. And which ones are the important? And yeah, well, these are the new transits, let's say. And we have Lilith squaring Pluto, which of course will be adding some more desire for bringing to the surface all that is no longer needed, and also more of the truth of who we are. So let's look at Venus and Jupiter. So Venus and Jupiter, it's not in essence, it's two, let's say, benefics. So Venus and Jupiter, it's not essentially, it's usually any contact of Venus and Jupiter, it's, let's say, positive, right? We don't look at Venus and Jupiter and say, oh my God, this is going to be a challenge. However, too much of the good stuff can indeed be detrimental. So what happens when Venus and Jupiter um, come in contact is well, several things. First, there might be things related to pleasure, relationships, and money coming up. Now, uh, there is probably a need for balancing freedom and responsibility, because Venus is all about fun, joy, pleasure, and the pleasures of life. This is where we spend money, where we give ourselves things, and we enjoy life. And Jupiter in that opposition might be expanding that, and is where we kind of lose the sense of boundary uh regarding, pleasure, joy, money, all of that stuff. And this is we tend to overexpend, overdo it, overpromise as well. And or maybe we meet a lot of friends and we have like our social calendar is like full, and that can also create enormous distraction from our own self, our own being. This is where Venus at this time is probably urging us to go on an adventure for seeking for a new truth. Almost, it's almost like we're going on an inner journey or an adventure, that we're going to trust that whatever comes to us is the right thing, because we have connected to that internal intuition. And with Jupiter, what can happen is distractions. There's so many avenues that we get swayed from what is true for me, and then we might get lost in the amount of distraction. So, a little bit, I got this little image here. You see, this is my Sagittarius image. And these are all the avenues of exploration, the far, the beyond, the new, the window, the beyond of the beyond, trying to find truth in all kinds of ways, philosophies, explorations, inner and outer. But what happens when we get lost in everybody else's truths or beliefs is that we lose our own compass. So it's important at this time to be with people, to enjoy life, to maybe be brave and jump into that next adventure. If we are releasing something, we'll jump into the next adventure with bravado and courage. And also make sure you're not overdoing it. So this transit is lighthearted, expansive, and full of possibilities, but it requires some self-discipline to avoid overextending yourself. In relationships, the key is to communicate openly and honestly. Make sure both people, and this is in case, and when I say people, it's in general. It can be with anyone. This could be your friends, this could be spouses, this could be a new person you meet. This is a time where we want to be honest and truthful, you know? I mean, all the time we should be honest and truthful. Like, if you ask me, that's what I think. But it's like when you meet somebody, you kind of put your best foot forward, and sometimes you're not honest about yourself and even your shadows or your being. But when we are more honest, we are more likely to create real, more meaningful relationships than things that later on you find out you're like, oh, it's like online dating, and there is something in the profile, but it's not quite true. Like, nah, that won't cut it here. This is a good time to really be you, And this pays off. Make sure both people are on the same wavelength about what they want. If you can balance enthusiasm with mindfulness and moderation, you'll enjoy the best of what this transit offers, which is joy, growth, and exciting new connections without unnecessary complications. So this is why being a little bit more mindful, more measured, more moderate, and that goes also for your money. We sometimes under these transits, we think we can, we're going to acquire stuff that is not really necessary, but we believe we have more in our credit card. Like, it's when we just rake the credit cards and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So the invitation is to, okay, how much enjoyment can I have? How much can I do while keeping an eye on not overdoing it? And you'll see you will probably benefit from this transit really a lot. So overall, it's a good time, I would say. And what else? Um, ba, 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 bum. Now we have some other themes coming up here, which is the a little bit later in the week so throughout this next week, like I say, we're releasing these themes. We're still having the Pluto influence and Mars Pluto, and that starts kind of phasing out. However, this Mars Pluto opposition will come back and forth and back and forth. So this is just the beginning of these like conflictual energies that we're trying to release and moving into something more expansive, right? So towards the 11th, we have Venus is going to enter Capricorn. That also changes a little bit the dynamic or the tint of this Venus. And we have where is Mercury Saturn? Where was my Mercury Saturn? Oh, here it is. Mercury squaring Saturn. Okay, so this one is going to be an important thing to look at. We have Mercury squaring Saturn, Venus, and Venus squaring Neptune. You see Venus here is going to be squaring Neptune, and Mercury squaring Saturn. So these two elements can bring like a sense of being in a utopian or idealistic situation or situations that are not necessarily quite real. And this is part of the Venus square Neptune. And Saturn square Mercury might feel either like pessimistic thinking. It could be like feeling that you're wanting to achieve some dreams or some ideals and it's not necessarily happening. They can also bring a lot of self-doubt. These aspects can bring a lot of self-doubt. So or frustration, or even just communication might not be quite clear. So you say something, somebody else wants something else, or somebody says something and you're not agreeing with it, but you don't say anything because you're doubting your own capacity to deliver, or even your own intellect. So in this case, there can be so the key themes are frustration and communication, because you might have many ideas at this time and they might not be too achievable. So in a certain sense, if you encounter blockages, it's because we also need to be realistic about what is achievable at this time with the things and the means we have. That is not to say that we're going to squash the dreams. Squash? No, squash. Zucchini. Squish, squish. That we're not going to like stop dreaming. It's more about having the capacity to dream, the capacity to access fantasy without the escapism, without the, oh, everything's just gonna be fine with me not doing anything but just dreaming about it. No. So delayed plans could be something that you had something planned, it looked great, and suddenly it's just not happening. It will require also some mental discipline and focus. This when Mercury and Saturn make contact, there's usually an ask of Saturn to focus the mind and to make sure we think before we say things, because our words will be kind of set in stone. So this is a time to have a critical thinking also. Saturn is asking us to have critical thinking, to be able to discernment before just like buying into the next thing. This is where pyramid schemes and the next great thing and the next whatever, the next promise of the great thing comes, and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. And then you make all these castles in the air, and then it's all air. So critical thinking, discipline, and it might feel like you're being the party pooper, but it's not necessarily true. Now, the other thing is be courageous as well. Do not like stop dreaming because of that. Just do your due diligence, right? Um, so you can also be feeling uh like a mental fatigue, and possibly there is a criticism is also very associated with Saturn and Mercury. You know, criticism can be internal criticism, or it could come from somebody outside of you where nothing's really good enough. So at this time is also be kind to yourself. So instead of focusing on all that's wrong and all that's not working, focus on what are the solutions you can bring to something that maybe be delayed, or maybe think outside the box. Um, it's also a good time to plan carefully. Plan carefully, to communicate clearly and honestly. And this is, this theme has been coming on and on and on. The communication, honest communication at this time, anything that's dishonest, that doesn't come from truth, that is manipulative in any way, shape, or form will not cut it, you know, will not cut it. So just assess, is everything I'm saying coming from a, a part that it's truth, or why am I saying something, right? And if you're putting, for any reason, you put somebody down, ask yourself, why are you putting somebody down, or preventing them from expressing themselves? Also look at yourself and see, wow, why am I doing that? What in me is causing that? Or conversely, if you feel somebody's putting you down and not letting yourself be expressed, or your ideas, is where does this self-doubt come from? You know? Now the square of Venus Neptune can bring confusion, lack of judgment. Maybe, this is typical Venus Neptune, the rose-colored glasses, However, it also can bring beautiful opportunities for connecting to something very creative and artistic. So during these times, divert that energy more into creative or artistic pursuits than in um like in building imaginary things that will never come to be, right? So to navigate this Neptune Venus square, so watch for illusions, and watch for illusions also in love, especially if you're starting to date and you're, flipping through or whatever, or you just met someone and it's great, or you have a great job opportunity, or anything that it like looks too good to be true. I would say at this time, have caution, because this is where we tend to be most gullible and really, really dream and be like, oh, put people in pedestals. And no, just kind of, again, keep your keep your sense of centeredness, do your due diligence, investigate. This is also a time to investigate what situations you're getting involved with, and be very realistic about them. Ground your finances, meaning, if do your go into your bank account, check what do you have, what you do not have, what you can, make a plan, and also do all of your manifestation practices as well. I'm not saying that there's not like magic that can appear and that we cannot create whole universes just with our thought. I'm saying absolutely 100% yes to that, and take the practical steps. So when you do your manifestation and your abundance practices, where you say to yourself, I am abundant, I am a divine creation, and I access all abundance of the universe here and now, and you say that, it's great. Notice the abundance all around you, and then notice is how you have thoughts of how to perpetuate that, not by just dreaming, but by doing practical actions. So follow those practical actions. So if you're just thinking, oh, I'm all abundant, and you're like, in a huge debt, and you don't even know what to do with that, don't keep just like pretending it's not there. This is just scenarios, right? But if this is you, like, this might land for you. So I'm just saying, be very diligent at this time, and balance the dreams with the reality. definitely. And you know what? This is a wonderful time to ground things too. So do not get discouraged, because at this time what could feel is like a loss of hope, like a discouragement. Under these trances, what we could feel is that there's no hope, that the world sucks, that we're controlled, that this is this, that everybody has power over us, that we cannot do things, that it could feel heavy. But in reality, we have to be very courageous to keep the dream alive, and be responsible with what we're dreaming. Also, remember, every time we bring something into being, we are responsible for that creation. And this is something that a lot of us might not necessarily always land. Is I create something, or I engage in something, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want this. I just leave it be. It's like, well, you created it, it's out there. What are you gonna do? You know, you can always choose again, but make sure that whatever you do, you complete. Um, so this is kind of how all this works together. So these transits challenge you to stay grounded while still engaging with your dreams and ideas. The key is balance. You don't need to give up on your ideals, but you'll need to temper them with realistic expectations and discipline. And this is part of my little blurb here, um, which is, you see, this is the what I see as the illusions, or the things that are not clear. It's like a dream over there, and it's not clear. It doesn't come into focus or being. But if you're grounded, if you plan, if you are in the energy of the disciplined action over time, and you're realistic, and you'll do things, guess what? You will be able to make these dreams a reality. So that is that. Now, there is one more thing, and I think I forgot something that was quite important, but maybe it was not as important if I didn't mention it, because it was the opposition, yes, the opposition of Uranus to the Sun. So also during this time, what could happen is like an urge to rebel and free oneself. And in reality, these trances, when we want to be free, freedom comes with amazing, with great amounts of responsibility. This is a little bit like what Spider-Man says. Power comes with great responsibility. This is kind of that kind of energy, that if we are engaging into wanting more freedom, then we need to be extremely responsible of what we are creating. This is what I said before. If we're creating something, we need to make sure that what we're creating and the dreams we're engaging in, we can commit to, we can see them through, and we have the capacity to be accountable and have integrity around what we create, also with respect to other people. All right, so this is kind of very important at this time as well. Now we have something really important happening now as well, which is the where is this? Where did it go? Oh, here. Beep. It's Saturn going direct, while this opposition of Saturn and of the Sun and Uranus, Saturn is moving direct in Pisces. So this is going to be moving direct, and we are still under this square to Mercury, and we will be possibly experiencing, let me see. Oh yeah, this is my so um so the key themes of Saturn going direct is, first is clarity and accountability. I talked about that. Clarity and accountability. During the retrograde period, what would have happened is that areas of life where boundaries were required probably got revealed. Every time there's a retrograde period, there is a review or revision of a topic on a theme. And in this case, Saturn, which is the retrograde planet in Pisces, and in the house placement where you have Pisces, that's the area of life that you probably have had to understand where to put boundaries. Now, boundaries in this context could be many, right? Because this could be boundaries, respecting like emotional boundaries. There could be also energetic boundaries. And this is something that is very seldom talked about. And I will definitely talk about this because this is something that I personally have experienced as a very empathic person. And I personally have been learning to deal with this. So, and this may or may not speak to you, but whether you're or not you're aware of it, this is the time to become aware of it. So I'm going to talk about what this means. Um, Imagine you I mean, you take a shower every day because you clean and cleanse your body. If you were, I don't know, outside sweating, doing sports, then I don't know, maybe you were in the garden, you got dirty, there's dirt, and your body's like that. Let's say you never, ever, ever wash, what would happen? You will be caked with dirt and stench, right? And you just be walking around like that. No, the energy that is around us, because everything is energy and everything is vibration, and all objects, peoples, places, and things have vibration. And there's no right or wrong in things, or not good or bad. Nothing is better than something else. But again, we're talking about resonance. So if something, an object, place, person, people, situation is not in resonance, and we're not putting that, let's say, boundary, but we're like keeping those little tendrils of energy connecting to people's places and things that are no longer in resonance, what can happen is that we'll start draining the soul's energy. No, the soul never ever drains of energy. The field, the energetic field around us, or auric field, will start getting kind of drained of its energy. Now, is that good or bad? No, that's just the thing that naturally occurs. It's like when you leave a faucet open. If you don't want that water to go down that drain, you just don't open it, right? Or if you don't want that water to be flowing, like, you just don't open it. So imagine if you had like faucets open all over the place, you would have a big flood of water, right? So this is kind of an image that I have as where we direct and what energies we connect to. And by energies, I mean everything from the objects you have in your home, to the people you connect to the situations you engage with, um, and also how you deal with your own energy, even in dream time. And when I talk dream time, it's because I'm a very, very open channel, and I tend to have dreams that are wild and crazy. And sometimes I do connect with other realms and things that are just everywhere, and call me crazy, but probably lots of you watching this channel, because you have the same feeling, sensations, and you connect with things. So I have been learning to set boundaries in my own energy. So this is why I wanted to share this. I feel very compelled to share this little image I created uh during this time, right? This image I created, it's how I have learned these techniques to just see myself as a big shining ball of light. So we're not putting boundaries to fear things. We are shining the light, shining the light so that things that don't vibrate at the same frequency of this light just kind of dissolve, or they don't even engage. And you can also consciously invite frequencies that are not necessarily resonant, but maybe dissonant. And you can invite them to become more resonant or more elevated, more harmonious, let's say. And I will give an example. If you have a piece of music that sounds really disharmonious and just jarring your ears, and you change two or three things in the chord, and suddenly you feel this sense of harmony and resolution. Is something like that. It's almost inviting that disharmony or discord into harmony. And you do that by being the light, by being the sun that shines out. And uh you can always imagine or intend that there's this beautiful flaming field of gold and rainbow, um, and or whatever, you can make it whatever color, or whatever works for you, or diamonds or a shield of gold, like however you want it. I kind of imagine it like this. Um, and this intention will create that in your energy field. So the intention is not to keep away, is to shine so much more than anything coming in contact with you either elevates or dissolves or just doesn't even approach by natural resonance. So there is a very big difference from I've got to be protected because the world is so dangerous and there are so many things and entities and energies around that I don't see and I don't know. I have to cloak myself. That is not accurate. It would be more accurate to say that we are the sun shining and inviting everything to resonate back into the light and the love of all that is. And everybody can do that. And why I'm saying this is because in reality, in those realms, and this is why Saturn through these retrogrades has been asking us to have also discipline and discipline with our spiritual practices, with our energy, our own energy boundaries, and I'm sure you have heard of energy vampires. I'm sure you have heard of um when there's a lot of drama, chances are there's no peace, chances are there are vampiric energy. So if you are in peace and you're always keeping your peace, there is no room for drama. Zero room. There is room for growth. There is room for transformation, but not for drama. You see, so assess in your life if there is drama happening. Chances are there are a lot of discordant energies, and the way we contribute to that discordant energy is by not being this, you know? So we basically are all vulnerable, and chances are we are the one creating also the drama and the discord by allowing our own frequencies to drop and engage with the drama. So disengage with the drama. And guess what? We can all come into such much more beautiful ways of connecting to each other. So now that Saturn is coming into this direct motion, um, we can expect now to see the learning, what we have learned about boundaries. So how to put emotional boundaries and be more gentle to ourselves, all the while being able to say no. We can also be more spiritually oriented, or have also creative disciplines where if we want to create something, we need to bring it into form. So if you want to learn something, you have to put in the time. And then last but not least, with Saturn coming direct, is like some karmic lessons or situations are coming to an end. Saturn is the planet also of karma, which is, well, the things that are kind of pending. So we might have now felt that something is kind of completing and it's kind of being closed off. So so the lessons from the retrograde phase begin to take form. Situations that seem stalled may now start to move forward, especially where healing, closure, or emotional release is involved. So this is something that we can definitely be looking forward to. And what comes out of this in the next phase when Saturn moves direct is spiritual growth. So finally we can find more discipline in in our spiritual practices. Why? Because, also during the retrograde phases, we're trying to figure out why things are not working. And now it's like, okay, if I do this, this, and that, A plus B equals C, right? So committing to your meditation practices or to whatever practice suits you and helps you to move forward. We might finally be seeing the fruits of more emotional maturity, which is part of that energy of Saturn, is to be emotionally mature and responsible. Um, we might also be starting to see that some creative projects that maybe were in the woodwork start taking form now. During the retrograde phase, we might have been wanting or dreaming, and now with these new energies that are coming, we might be able to now start seeing more the fruit of our efforts. Um, and this is also a time where we might have understood that letting go of illusions, and this is why the transits during this phase are very interesting, because we might have that path again where, oh, we see all these illusions and everything's just going to be so easy and click of the fingers. But this Saturn has been showing us, look, we on this plane, we gotta make things happen. Yes, there's inspiration, but we gotta make things happen. So um I will say, so it's time to take responsibility for the lessons learned during Saturn's retrograde phase and start laying the foundation for long-term growth. This transit asks you to integrate dreams and reality, turning inspiration into tangible results by applying steady effort. Neptune at this time supports inner reflection, forgiveness, and the ability to let go of grudges or emotional burdens, essentially becoming more emotionally mature. It can help you navigate the intense changes indicated by the Sun Uranus opposition by giving you faith in the process. And when I say the Sun Uranus opposition, is that desire for liberations and freedoms, and the immense changes that can happen like this, because that's the other thing. Things might be so volatile at this moment. Maybe you have everything figured out and you had this big dream and suddenly everything collapses in front of you and you're like, what happened? And this only wants us to see that you are wanting to find more freedom in your own being and in your own essence, and trusting the process is essential. So the final thought about this, was how to navigate this transit is to embrace structure. Be okay with having a little bit of discipline, and structure. Establish healthy boundaries. Now you know if you went through a lot of the drama and the enmeshment, establish healthy boundaries. Balance the dreams with the discipline. Trust the timing. That's really important. Every good wine will require some time to mature. So you don't drink the wine right after, a couple months in the barrel, The longer that wine sits in the barrel, the better it becomes. So allow the right timing for things to show up. So the rush that we sometimes have to make things happen in this world, I want to do this, I want to do that, this has to happen now, this has to happen now, and why this hasn't happened? And then you start thinking, oh, it's me, blah, 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 all that. Allow everything to unfold. You just keep walking the path one step at a time, trusting that intuition. And then you will see that this is exactly what will um, what will help you um, what will help you bring forth what you wanted to bring forth. Um, uh, so there's one more thing that I wanted to touch on, which is the Black Moon Lilith squaring Pluto, which is part of this whole, let's say, energetic landscape of closing certain karmic relationships through the shadow work. Um, so because there can be very unexpected disturbances in your relationships, um, about freedom, loyalty, control, like who do we trust? How can we move forward with existence? Like there can be a lot of intensity around relationships at this time. Um, this is where we need to be clear on what is good for us and what things really support our well-being, what things and what people support our well-being. And then we stick to that. If we're still stuck to the toxicity or the dramas or the things that are not supporting of our well-being, this is where we say, no, thank you. No, thank you. And I can love you over there, you know? That doesn't mean we're not compassionate and loving to all that is, but that means that we also care for our own energy and our own beingness. So This is also time to embrace change, because change is coming whether you like it or not. Everything is constantly in motion. Connect to your intuition, speak your truth, and do your shadow work. That's kind of the final thoughts around this whole uh first 2 weeks of November. It's packed. It's like a lot. It's a lot, but that's the summary, right? I just summed it up. So connect to your embrace change with flexibility, connect to your intuition, set boundaries and speak truth, and do the shadow work. Go within, do the shadow work. And that, my friends, I could have not have done a whole hour of this and just giving you that, but I kind of wanted to bring you for the ride with me because I'm really excited about sharing this with you, and hopefully this can help you in your life right now, in the challenges you may be navigating, or if you're not experiencing the challenges, you can be the one supporting others that are going through challenging times. And I love you. Please feel free to share, like, subscribe. Now you can like the video if you made it all the way. and and um look at the 50% off and all my readings for the month of November for Black Friday. And I love you very much, and I hope we can navigate life together with immense love, light, compassion. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.